Lord, make us instruments of your peace.
Where there is hatred, let us sow love.
Where there is injury, pardon.
Where there is doubt,
Faith. Where there is despair, hope.
Where there is darkness,
light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master,
grant that we may not so much seek
to be consoled as to console,
to be understood as to understand,
to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive,
it is in pardoning that we are pardoned,
and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
WESN.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Do you need treatment for obesity or any related abdominal procedures? The community hospital now offers minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery done by an American-trained, board-certified surgeon with over 20 years' experience.
Give us a call at 235-5479
for more information.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for. It's called loss and damage, and we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region. Man
is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
WESN.
Good morning and welcome to AM Prime. My name is Jada McLeod. Naomi has the day off. Now today, as per usual, will be a riveting show. We will be having interesting discussions covering political discourse and other lifestyle and human interest topics that you are very interested in, and we'll also catch you up on any news that you may have missed in the past couple of days. So before we jump into our first interview of the day, remember that you can find us on our YouTube or Facebook, where you can leave your comments and suggestions for us to engage with you. Head to WESNCC to engage with us now, and your comments can be featured on AM Prime. So, let's just get right into it. With nomination day behind us and the 2025 general election drawing closer, April 28th, you guys, the political landscape, war zone really, in Trinidad and Tobago is heating up. New candidates are stepping into the spotlight, parties are making bold moves, and voters are watching closely. Joining us today via Zoom is none other than Mr. Chris Hossain, a youth parliamentarian with a sharp eye on the election race. From candidate lineups to campaign strategies, Chris helps us unpack what's really at stake in this critical election season. Welcome back, Chris. You're no stranger to the program. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Good morning, Jada. Of course, good morning to everyone in the studio, and good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. I am very pleased to be here this morning, and I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Yes, of course, and on my end as well, it's always a pleasure to get to speak with you. So tell me, how do you feel right now? How do you feel about the energy, like after nomination day and leading up into the elections? How do you feel?
Well, I feel excited and I feel optimistic. You know, in our country, we must never forget the privilege that we have in being able to determine who governs this country every 5 years. And we, so far, we have not seen any sort of instances of violence. Or, I mean, the nomination day happened. There was a very great spirited sort of, I would describe it as a political standoff in La Hoquita, Talparo, but nothing seemed to get violent. And I think that's the beauty in Trinidadians and Tobagonians, that we can beautifully disagree. And so I feel optimistic. This is democracy, and we are, you know, not just a part of it, but we're seeing that this is the process of it. And I am happy that we get every 5 years to choose what direction we like the country to go in. But more importantly, we also get to observe the track record of the incumbent for the past 5 years, alongside what the offerings and political offerings would be, you know, being put forward by the opposition parties. Because though you would have been in opposition or in opposition to the People's National Movement, you must have been giving us an alternative. So I'm not expecting at the last 11th hour to now hear what you intend to do. I think that once you held opposition office, whether it is the UNC, the Patriotic Front, the COP, I know there's a lot of NTA, a lot of opposition parties, I would have expected to hear from you your direction within the past 5 years. And so now it's just a matter of mounting platforms and getting the messages out to the 1 or 2 swing voters that you're trying to capture.
All right. So do you think, because you said you were touching on something right there and I wanted to follow up on it, do you think with this being the election that may just break a decade-long PNM streak? We have the international tariff war that's going on, the visa turmoil, and the country's low revenue. Do you think that the energy, people want to change? Can you comment on this being like an election that's going to really be like a really electric one, a change one?
Well, the thing is, I would have been on the show, the first time I believe I was on the show, not the first, the second time I was on the show. First time was in 2021, I believe. But the second time I was on the show was coming out of an article that I would have penned to the Express newspapers. And I spoke in that article about the generational gaps in leadership and how we needed at the party level to see younger and fresher a generation of leaders take reins of the party in order to direct it in a more progressive, I would even say a more timely direction. And I also said that the status quo would have looked, the political offerings would have looked as the Rowley-led PNM and the Kamla Persad-Bissessar-led UNC for the past decade. And so, though many persons believe that the PNM held office for 10 years, I am not one to automatically believe that they're going to be voted out. I do think that the change in leadership, the Prime Minister, the ushering in of the new Prime Minister, has, I think, sparked a bit of hope and also given Trinidad and Tobagonians new talking points and a new direction to look into. Interestingly, Mr. Young would have, senior counsel actually, would have indicated some new things, like the Ministry of Implementation. He spoke about the orange economy. I listened attentively. And just in the Youth Parliament budget talks last year, that was a big discussion about how we can create and identify the business model that is for Carnival and be able to sell it on not just the foreign market. It is being sold there, but being able to capture forex from it and build out the business model so it works for us. And hearing him speak about it indicated to me, when he speaks about writing a new era, it really seems so to me. Now, I'm not also one to agree that it's just an easy win for the UNC opposition. In order for the UNC opposition to win the election on the 28th, they must be able to win the first seat being St. Joseph. I will remind you, Jada, in 2020, the People's National Movement candidate, incumbent now, former MP Terence D'Alsing, and candidate for the PNM, Terence D'Alsing, Minister of Health, he would have defeated the UNC candidate Aloy Hunt by 811 votes. Whilst that may be a very slim margin in general elections, there are other offerings. This is not just a two-way fight. This is not a fight in a marginal seat like St. Joseph of you have just a PNM and just a UNC. So the disenchantment of the PNM, or it's not going to necessarily translate that, you know, as the UNC says, yellow is the code, because the reality is that NTA is offering something in that seat. And the political leader of NTA, Gary Griffiths, who is viewed as having national appeal, might be a controversial guy, but there are some persons in this country that prefers his type of leadership, and they prefers that sort of, you know, dominant alpha leader. And the reality is, as Commissioner of Police, some may say he performed. And so crime is a big ticket item, and perhaps maybe he would be able to muster up some votes in that seat. I also believe the Patriotic Front has slated a candidate there. So it's not just a two-way fight as opposed to what 2020 had. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays off. The second seat that the UNC will or should be looking at is the seat of San Fernando West. The People's National Movement candidate in 2020 won the seat by 1,806 votes against then Sean Sobers. Sean Sobers would have been the UNC candidate for the UNC, for San Fernando West, that is actually. And so in order for the UNC to win another marginal seat, that's the second one they would be looking at. And what you're seeing in I live San Fernando West, by the way, and what you're seeing in San Fernando West is Mr. Faris Al-Rawi versus Michael Dowlat. And I believe Dr. Kevin Saran from the NTA, and also the Patriotic Front has also slated someone as well. So it's not a two-way fight. And 1,800 votes against the Faris Al-Rawi, I can tell you, I live in the constituency. He is extremely popular. He's extremely affable. His office is extremely accessible. You can ask the councillors, the UNC councillors, that is, I'm certain. I see that the MP has gone a little beyond and being able to work across the political divide. And that's the kind of guy he is, and is the nature of his type of politics. So being able to remove that kind of leader is a difficult job for Mr. Dowlat, given that he also has his competitor as an NTA candidate and his other competitor as now a Patriotic Front candidate. The next seat the UNC will be looking at is Tunapuna. 1,900, but then so we're going down a very interesting trend here. I'm going to tell you, it's not either red, it's not either yellow, and I will also say the red has the bit of the advantage, though, if I have to give a little prediction. And the reason I say that is, if anything taught us, 2007 taught us that the introduction of a third political option, persons wanted that other option. Because there's this notion, Jada, that the Patriotic Front or the NTA is going to split your vote. And I want to agree with Michaela Pandey on that. Your vote is your vote. It doesn't belong to the UNC. It's not their vote. It doesn't belong to even the PNM. It doesn't belong to anyone but you. And so you have the opportunity on the 28th to determine where you want to cast that vote. I'll again make the point, in 2020, you basically had a two-way battle. Now you do not have a two-way battle. So for those who believed that they were, you know, in disagreement to the PNM, it doesn't automatically mean they're going to vote the UNC. There are other options as well now. And I would even say, in viable and interesting options, Ms. Pandey is offering something of substance, and Mr. Griffith so far,
Yes, so what we're seeing is a lot of new faces. So all of these changes are happening, and I, for one, I'm pretty intrigued to be at a place right now where I'm seeing so many different people that I've honestly never seen before, never heard before, standing up for change. What we're calling for is change. I think the Patriotic Front, what's their motto? Change, not exchange.
Yes, change not exchange, correct. Yes.
So one thing that's coming to my mind every single time I think about the elections is that people are desperate for change. But with all of the new faces and that we're seeing, do you think that people have had enough time to really build up their campaign, to really build up their popularity, to be able to be in a position to contend with the PNM or the UNC?
No, I don't think so. I think the UNC would have really fallen down on their strategy in using their Senate bench. I believe there were six opposition senators, and the only senator to get a seat or to be able to be a candidate is the deputy political leader, Ms. Julie John. Deservingly so, I must say she's a hard worker. It is evident in the politics, if you know her, and you know her track record outside of the UNC in the private sector. She's a workaholic. However, what about some of the other persons like Mr. Lyder? I understand Mr. Lyder would have been interested in I believe it's Komoto Mansinala. What about someone like Mrs. Jayanti Lakshmidial Ramdial?
Yes.
I mean, these persons were allowed 5 years, and Jada, I want the population that is viewing to really stay with me here, in that the space you occupy as a parliamentarian allows you a few things. It demonstrates to the population your ability to debate in the parliament. It demonstrates to the population your versatility in communication, because you will be invited by the media, as I am today, and a number of them did media engagements. So you get to build your political currency, your credibility, your national appeal, your brand nationally. And here you have Mr. Dowlat in San Fernando West, and I would admit I'm from a different generation, so I may not know him. I understand there's a specific generation that knows him quite well. He was a former principal at Naparima College. But why wasn't he maybe placed in the Senate? You should have placed him in the Senate at least for a year or two in. Let him have some experience. Get the population to start speaking. Let his name be at the tip of our tongue. Just like with the guy in St. Joseph, Mr. Devish Maharaj. So I do think that the UNC would not have used their Senate bench as effectively as opposed to how they would have used their Senate bench in 2020. I would remind you, some of the senators that would have been candidates in the 2020 general election for the UNC would have been Sean Sobers. So Sean had he had a platform for about, I think it would have been 3 years. And he would have been able to use that platform to build out himself. Unfortunately, he was unsuccessful in the marginal seat in San Fernando West. But still, so if it is Sean lost to Farris and he had 3 years in the Senate with this platform, I don't know if I could estimate how well Mr. Dowlat will do. And you can't tell me that the disenchantment with the PNM is that bad, so persons are going to migrate their vote when there are other options on the ballot. You also can't tell me the disenchantment is that bad when you have a new face and leader, not political leader, but Prime Minister in Mr. Young, who has articulated a very interesting and more progressive direction. And Miss Anita Haynes, she was a senator, PRO of the party, then made MP of Tabakit. Khadija Amin, senator, MP in St. Augustine. Saddam Hussein, senator, went up for the marginal seat in Barataria, Sawa. So that is how you would have used your opposition. And this is nothing, this is not a big hard maths, you know. When the PNM was in opposition, Dr. Rowley, slated in his Senate, fielded Mrs. Shamfa Kojo Lewis, Faris Al-Rawi, Stuart Young, Camille Robinson. Well, Camille was just out for a couple of years, got back in. But Faris got a big platform and he used it. This is his second term as an MP in the marginal seat. Mrs. Kojo Lewis went over to Tobago. That seat was held by the TOP in 2015, right? So this is, as I said, it's a little bit of, I don't understand the strategy, but if I am to analyze it, I think it's not good strategy so far with the misuse of the Senate benches.
Do you think it's unfortunate strategy? Because let's do a little role play. Something I like to do is imagine you are Michaela Pandey, right?
Okay.
And
right.
you didn't have a full slate. You just starting to get your feet wet, really starting to build that platform, and all of a sudden elections are called. Weeks. You have weeks to put together something based on what you were doing before. You want to say something? I'm seeing your facial expressions.
Yeah. No. I will not. If I were, you asked me if I were.
Yes.
If I were in a position, really, is what you asked me, in a position like that. Well, first of all, the Patriotic Front in 2020 did not contest the election because of the close date and being able to organize. And they wanted to offer something of substance to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And I believe that something to the fact that's what Miss Pandey said. We had 5 years, though. You had 5 years to politically negotiate if it is you wanted to go into a coalition. If not, you had 5 years to slate candidates. You had 5 years to come up with your manifesto. You had 5 years. And one thing about Miss Pandey, though Miss Pandey have not held political elected office in terms of parliament for almost more than a decade, she has been dominating the media. As a matter of fact, I have seen Miss Pandey as a political leader, Mr. Griffith. They have done a lot of media interviews as a political leader. And I think the only other person to match them would be maybe Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young. I can't say, and maybe Mr. Farley and Mr. Duke. I can't say that for the UNC, the opposition leader, I believe, did one media interview on TV6. And so you got to get yourself out there. You got to get back yourself out there. The people want to have a conversation with you. We are employing you.
So I'm just thinking randomly here. I don't really have much facts to back it up. I call you my fact guy. So do you think that the Patriotic Front has the youth vote, or at least a substantial youth base to build off of compared to the other parties?
Well, I don't have the data to suggest that young people are turning to Patriotic Front, and maybe we need to do more polling in this country for us to have that kind of information.
It'll be interesting.
But what I can tell you is that their modality of communication, definitely their target audience seems to be young people. I looked at the Patriotic Front. They were doing a podcast, the People's Mic, and the way they, again, the modality in how they communicated their message was very Gen Z and young millennials. So I do think that they are trying to target a younger audience, but I don't know if it is working, if it is not working. I do know that Miss Pandey is extremely popular on social media, as is Mr. Young, as is Mrs. Basavi Sessa, as is Mr. Farley, you know. But what I find interesting is for someone who didn't hold office, she seems to be extremely popular on social media for a long time.
Yes. I think when I first saw her come across my page, I was eager to get to know what she was all about. So tell me, if youth engagement is really strong in this election, which we are hoping that it would be, what ripple effects do you think it can have on future governance with youth parliamentarians, those doing red table talk, all those people coming on into politics?
Well, if you talk to young persons privately, I don't know if we will always say it publicly, but I would, we want to see younger people in leadership positions.
We do.
And I'm not necessarily advocating for my generation, I'm advocating for generations right above me.
Yes.
Because we have seen how young generations and younger generations, their energy is there. I mean, look at Mr. Young. He's on the ground. His energy is, I sometimes feel like he has more energy than me.
Yes, he walked in my constituency and he
conference.
Jumped in front of my car and was waving. You don't see that with other people, and that's just my point. But sorry, go ahead.
He is in the schools. He is, Minister of Energy and young, no pun intended, with both words on his name. He is in a press conference. He then attends a opening of some ceremony, some government ceremony. Then he walks into Napuna. Then he walks in his constituency.
Yes.
Then he does a meeting in the night. I mean, that is the energy you see with younger leaders. The energy, look, Miss Pandey yesterday, I believe she did a motorcade in Couva North, and she's meeting and greeting and walking and running. That's the energy you want with younger people. Mr. Griffith, I saw Mr. Griffith and Mrs. Walker, Mrs. Marsha Walker, running with the flag and meeting and greeting constituents and hugging and holding and embracing. And that kind of touch is what you get with younger leaders. They're able to meet you on the ground where you are at. And I do think that so the human touch is there, the mindset as well. When you listen to Mr. Young advocate and explain what he intends to do, the Ministry of Implementation, the orange economy, energy sustainability. When we speak, you spoke about the potential trade war. We might be really in the trade war. And you speak about that. And the way he navigated this, because, you know, you're hearing conversations about, well, Venezuela and dragon gas. Then Marco Rubio came and it seems the meeting was fine. Was a big problem. You know? So what is just seeing younger persons I listened to Miss Michaela Pandey speaking about social media and the impact. We're hearing of offerings of perhaps having apps for us to engage with. And I am seeing some of my former youth parliamentarian friends, and I'm seeing them very much involved.
Yes.
Some on defense, but some are very much involved politically.
Yes.
And that's a good thing. That's a great thing. But younger people, we want to see younger persons at the helm because the direction is vastly different from what we have had. And you know what? We're seeing it right now before our eyes. Some people may not like it. It doesn't fit their political outcome, but it's happening in the country.
Can we discuss a little bit more, because I know we're touching on the hour now, but it's always such a good time talking with you. But let's talk about the youth vote and how it may be tokenized. Because I know when in Stuart Young's inaugural address, he talked about pushing to include youth more in politics. If he gets elected, do you think that it's just going to phase out, and we're not going to be considered anymore?
Well, I cannot contemplate what will happen after the election. What I can do is judge based on, and this is not me being facetious, neither is it me being blue-eyed and bushy-tailed, right? Naive. But I'm judging what's in front of me and the offerings. I do think there are some signs that we have to look for. Mr. Kareem Marcel is in the seat of Laventille West, extremely young, affable, seems like a community guy, an attorney and young attorney. I think he's going to bring some energy and something good to the house. We must never forget Mrs. Shamfa Kojo Lewis entered the house at a very extremely young age, and look at the type of minister she has grown into. Very dignified, communication is smooth, you know, patriotic woman. You also see even Mr. Farley, young, you know, dignified type of guy. And so I think the younger people, I don't believe that they're going to sell the younger generations out for theirs and maybe a bit other generations. I think Bill in Trinidad and Tobago is genuinely going to take all of us. And I think the PNM understands that, and they said all in, as opposed to the UNC that is speaking about purging.
So you just touched on it right there. So I know that you're very active in the PR field, but last time we spoke, we mentioned that Anita Haynes is very well liked by most. So what do you think about the UNC's move to kind of, and forgive me for using this brutal language, but ouster? Do you think it was like a pragmatic move on their part? Do you think they're making pragmatic moves? Can you speak to that?
I think it depends on the outcome you're looking for. If it is that you want to keep the status quo the same, then absolutely I understand why Mrs. Haynes Allen would have been removed. She is a threat to the leadership. It is no secret that she's extremely popular. It is no secret that she is able to communicate across political lines, and it is no secret that she is the best debater on the UNC opposition side. And so what I am seeing is I'm seeing Mrs. Prasad Bisasa perhaps maybe looking to hand over the baton to Mr. Barry Padarat. And definitely for him, she is a huge political threat to the throne of the UNC, if one wants to call it that. But I do think that if you're looking to win an election, having her not on your side is a problem.
Yes, it is.
The UNC's one of the bigger assets that they had would have been Anita as a communicator and ally to them in being the public relations officer and even being the member of parliament for Tabakit. What I have seen here is that a demonstration or a big signal, and how you run your organization is how you're going to run the country. And the UNC, through Mrs. Prasad-Visasa, has signaled to the country that you cannot contest in an internal elections because you will be tossed out. And unfortunately, that is what would have happened with Mrs. Haynes Allen and a couple others. And I think that's a little hit for democracy, isn't it?
Yes, I was just going to say that same thing. How is that a democratic process? So, and you touched on it just now. Kamala Prasad-Visasa says that she's purged the UNC. Speaking at her candidacy launch at the Center of Excellence, she says after 15 years, she has transformed the UNC from a one-man show and hereditary aristocracy into a meritocracy, adding nepotism has been purged from the UNC. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. I have a number of thoughts on that. If it is that Mrs. Prasad-Visasa is speaking about her tenure as a political leader, then the first and foremost job of a political leader is to get your organization into government. And unfortunately, that only happened 1 out of 3 times.
Yes.
The People's National Movement has consecutively and consistently defeated Mrs. Prasad-Visasa at the helm of leadership. And even at the local government level, the seat of Indian Walk Lengua that falls directly in the constituency of Maruga Tabalan, that seat that would have gone to the People's National Movement, which is an indicator for that marginal seat, by the way, that is currently held by the UNC. So I don't understand what she means by purging the party. I do think it's a justification, you know, a poor one, a very poor one. When you're in opposition, you need to practice politics of addition, you know, not subtraction. So I do think it's a poor excuse, and she's an attorney, so I would have expected a better argument coming from her, and she's that of senior counsel. Because really what she is saying, that is code for saying, I have purged the UNC of Anita Haynes and given and gifted them Sean Sobers. And I mean, Mr. Sobers might be a good guy, but if it is he was not able to win the marginal seat of San Fernando West, why is he rewarded and replaced? Why did you replace somebody like Anita Haynes? When you look at even the seat of Couva South, you purged the party of the seat of Couva South and put Barry Padarat there. He would have been the MP for Princestown. What happened there? I didn't understand the reshuffling of safe seats, by the way, from the UNC. I know that persons reshuffle cabinet, but this is one of the first times I am noticing that you're reshuffling safe seats. You removed Dr. David Lee from Claxton Bay, which is a marginal seat, by the way, and put him in a safe seat. So I don't understand what you meant by purge. I didn't get it. I you know, because I wouldn't describe the political acumen of persons like Anita Haynes and Rushton Parry and Rudranath and Dar Singh. I will not and never describe them as purging if they are, you know, out of the UNC in terms of seats. I would never describe that as a purge.
Just one more topic I wanted to touch on about AI in politics. Both parties are claiming that they're using AI maliciously against each other. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, this calls for us to have a conversation about it politically. We, in the youth parliament, you debated, Jada, and the debate surrounded the regulation of AI in a specific area. The youth parliament debated this, specific to education. But it is no secret. I listened to Mr. Taklal Singh. He would have filed in the UNC for the seat of Couva North. Well, they would not have selected him. But interestingly, Mr. Taklal Singh spoke to the regulation of AI in terms of the legal fraternity. and how there's a possibility of it perhaps being misused in cases. And I think that the AI, as we listened in your debate, it's not going anywhere. And so it's time that we have the conversation. The parliament is the best place to have the conversation. You all are the legislators.
Now that they're calling it out on for each other, do you think that we'll see more regulation or more push towards regulation, or even just consideration of it at parliament?
I think so. I think so. The rate at which AI is becoming uber sophisticated, very quickly, might I add, I think the politicians knows that they're going to have to regulate it at some point. It's going to take some political will, but I don't see it as something that they're not. Maybe it might be misused politically right now, but I think when they get into the lower house, it will be regulated. And I cast no aspersions, by the way, to anyone who's using or misusing it. That is not my business. I don't know, Jada. I don't know.
All we can do is just have basic conversations on it right now until regulation is set in place. But Chris, I thank you so much for joining me. As always, I do want to actually have you on again to talk about the AI aspect of it all. I think that'll be an interesting conversation. So thanks so much for joining us, and I want you to have a beautiful day.
Same to you. Take care and have a great day, Trinidad and Tobago. Be safe.
All right. So, all right, folks, as you can tell, April 28th will be a day like no other. Prepare yourselves to make an informed decision, and most importantly, go register to vote. And if you already have done that, then when it's voting day, go out and vote. All right? Stay on your finger. So we're going to just take a short break, and we'll be right back with our next interview of the day.
My name is Dr. Stephen Carroll, the CEO at Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist, and we are committed to making good private health care affordable.
For all your medical needs, including dental, radiology, laparoscopy, behavioral and mental health, along with many other services, contact us for more information at 235-5479.
Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity, from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1, find the style number on the tag. Step 2, match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3, search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas, and Movie-Town, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Our award-winning show is back, and this season promises to be even more exciting than before. What's Up, Doc isn't just a title. It's a call to action for anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
right, and welcome back to the program. You are watching AM Prime. So next up, we're shifting a little bit from the political talk. We have a young lady joining us today. Some of you may know her, others will be glad you're tuned in to meet her. She's a poet, an educator, writer, an activist, and she's the former winner of the FCB Grand Slam, nicknamed the Slam. She took a bit of a hiatus, but is she coming back for that crown as she prepares for the final in May? We're diving into her creative process and how she feels to once again compete alongside some of the most celebrated poets in the country. Today we have Miss Danica Thomas with us. Welcome and good morning, Danica.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's a pleasure to have you on. You're so lively. I love watching your poetry. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm good. Just happy to be here.
All right. So congratulations on becoming a finalist once again. So how does it feel to return to the FCB National Poetry Competition after, what is it, six or so years? How many years?
Well, I actually competed in 2023.
Oh, okay.
But before that, it may have been like a 2 or 3 years since I had competed, and it's good vibes and it's good energy. It's always a different experience being a part of the slam, and the prep work and the type of poems that you write during slam season is a little different, because you just kind of consider a little bit more how you're a little bit more intentional with the poem, because you know that there is a goal in mind. You want to make it to the semis after auditions, you want to make it to the finals after semis. So the competitive energy is cool, and just being around all the poets has been like a real treat.
Yeah, I was watching one of your more recent YouTube videos, and in one of them somebody had just said one word, and then you were able to take that and give us a little two-liner, just like right off the bat. And that sort of thing always amazes me with poets. How are you able to just come up with rhymes on the go like that?
Rhymes on the go. I'm not a good freestyle poet, I love imagery and things, so most of the times, like on kicks, like we'll go at each other back and forth. But to just be able to like get a prompt, that's what we call that, get a prompt and be able to write on it, it just takes a little bit of practice. And also it takes a little bit of not taking yourself too seriously, in terms of like not trying to strive for perfection in the moment, and just trying to get whatever it is out and then share.
So on that, not taking yourself too seriously, do you have a writing process? Like, is it that you must eat 2 doubles, knock on wood 2 times before you sit down to write your masterpiece?
My process has changed a lot over the years. So now I churn out poems a little quicker. I just kind of stop obsess over trying to get the perfect first draft, and that whole perfectionism. And so let's say I get an idea for a poem, I always try to think about like, how can I present this poem in a way I feel like it hasn't been presented before? How can I say this and show this in a way that is new? Because all topics are, they've been done, but how I decide to approach it is what will be new and fresh. So I always take a little bit of time thinking about that, and sometimes I kind of do research, not like academic research, but let's say the poem is about steel pan, and I want to use that steel pan metaphor to speak about domestic violence, for instance. I do have a poem on that from years ago. I'll do some research on steel pan, I'll watch some films, I'll listen to some music and try to get some inspiration for like different images I could create, and then I just write the poem and refine it.
So I understand, going back in time a little bit, that you were once the program manager of GBH Girl Be Heard. I am actually an alum myself. It was a program that helped me with my confidence a lot. So I want to thank you for your contributions on that. But can you tell us a bit more about that experience and how it shaped who you are today, especially as an educator?
Yeah, that's probably one of the most crucial, vital, key milestones in like my career and my journey. Being able to be a program manager at Girl Be Heard, and then learn how to be an educator from an international organization and get international training and kind of get to see how, you know, they were dealing with the same issues in New York, because that's where Girl We Heard is from. And a lot of the same issues we're dealing with here, where young girls and young women have to deal with here, but then so many other issues, and just being able to get that training and that guidance and then bring it here and see how impactful the work kind of translates the young woman herself. It's been a key experience. I still use some of those most of those techniques today, like with my lesson planning and just the whole idea of edutainment and arts education. That knowledge came from that experience.
So going on what you were building on what you were just saying, can we talk on how poetry can help shift societal or cultural conversations, or how it may be able to drum up or create a cultural conversation? Do you agree with using poetry to tackle taboo topics, and how have you done that in your work before?
For sure. I think arts is a vehicle, and you could use poetry to teach literally anything. You know, anything from body image. We use poetry to teach about violence, extremism in schools, and that's with boys and girls. We use it to teach literally anything you could package. You could package an idea and a topic through spoken word poetry and teach the fundamentals and have young people understand, because it's relatable, rather than them sitting in a lecture and, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, cool, this person just in front talking. But because of the interactive nature of poetry, and it's just cool, you know, it's just cool. And youths like to be a part of things that just cool, you know. So culturally, I think we're doing it, and we've been doing it, you know. Poetry is calypso and poetry is soca, and you know, just the ability to creatively express yourself. And you know, I think calypso is fun, and it's rhythmic, is music, but so many social issues are addressed through calypso, and I think poetry is the same thing. So it's just another medium, another form.
So you mentioned just now that it's fun, you know, there's the energy, there's the vibe of it. But do you think that it can become a viable career field for young people who want it to be a field for them?
Of course. I was a full-time spoken word poet for 7 years. 7 years, that's all that I did. That was the main source of my income, through performances, through international exchanges. Of course, you as a poet, if that's what you want to do, you really have to push yourself to find, to be seen, and to create a space for yourself, where spaces, I mean, there are people like myself and Darren and, you know, even Mohammed Mwakil, who Amilka Sanatan, and all these different veterans who created this space already. And it's just for you to figure out where you fit in that space, you know. So you could apply for international opportunities, you could write, you could publish, do performances, create programs. Just have to think outside of the box of how that will work for you. But I mean, I'm no longer a full-time poet. I'm a part-time poet now. But there are full-time poets in existence, like Darren Sandy. Like, this is all Darren Sandy does, you know. So it is very, very possible, and a very real career choice. If that's what you choose to do, you just have to be very aggressive about how you decide to be a poet in terms of creating opportunities for yourself.
If it's something that is a viable career field and it's something you're doing full-time, how do you deal, and you could, I guess, talk on your experience with this, but how did you deal with burnout, or like a creative block, or a writer's block?
I don't believe in writer's block.
You don't believe it? That's interesting.
Writer's block is a word, boy. I feel like it kind of perpetuates this idea of just something is stopping. I mean, yes, something is stopping me from writing, but most times it's just you. And so, like any other profession, you have to take breaks, and you know, you need a vacation. You might need to kind of experience and live life a little bit. And this is where being diverse in how you are a poet. So it is not just about performing. you're gonna definitely try. It will benefit you to probably become a teacher, arts educator. So when you're not performing, you're teaching. You know, you're consulting. If you're like an activist that you have a specific issue that you're known for, or that you champion, sitting on panels, like just having the work be a little bit more diverse and far-reaching, so that you don't have to always be performing or always churning out work to like that's not the definition of your career, I guess. Like that's not the sole thing of your career. So like you're doing other things. But for me, I honestly don't really experience writer's block. I experience maybe perfectionism blocks, where it's like the poem not coming out exactly how I see it in my head, the vision that I have for it, and that kind of stops me from writing. Well, I stop myself from writing because of that. I'll hold myself back until I could get it the way that I want it sometimes. But yeah.
What was the process like in applying to the Grand Slam? Like, what did you have to go through to get to where you are now?
For the slam this season, honestly, I have been churning out poems for the times that I wasn't slamming. I have had poems, and so all I really needed to do, honestly, was refine the work. I mean, I've thought of so many other new ideas that I want to write, and they will be written. But I just want to have a little bit of fun performing writing this time. So like I said, like I'm taking myself seriously, and I'm being intentional about the work that I'm going to be presenting on the 4th of May, but not too soon.
Okay. I kind of lost you at the end there, but can you tell me if there's any poets, local, international, regional, that have really helped you or guided you on your journey?
Yeah, for sure. Darren Sandy, Ariel John has been one of those influential spoken word poets throughout my career. A key like pillar of just somebody who I would have once considered like my mentor. Ariel John, Darren Sandy. Yesterday I was at the Slam photo shoot, and I bragged about how Shivani Ramlokchan's work, they're not a spoken word poet, but they're a poet and writer, Caribbean author. And just the way that they write, and they allow themselves to be very vulnerable, and they're not afraid to say the hard things. Yeah, that's really inspirational to me. So their book, Everyone Knows I'm a Haunting, is a book that I go back to when I need a little extra courage or inspiration. So yeah.
Do you have any words of wisdom, any advice, tips and tricks for people who may want to join the Slam in the next coming years?
Words of wisdom, just be yourself, you know. Be yourself.
What if they're not as cool as you, Danica?
Sorry?
What if they're not as cool as you?
No, you know, I mean, if you want, you can be Danica. I give them all the permission. But be yourself, and just stay true to you. You know, sometimes we feel like we're not good enough. Like who you are as a new poet isn't good enough. And you might be hearing poems that you find real cool, and you might be hearing poems that, you know, might be poems that you want to aspire to write, types of poems that you want to aspire to write, or the type of artist you want to aspire to be. And I would say stay true to yourself, but learn the greats, learn the people who admire you, and try to figure out how the work that you enjoy so much, why is it good? Why? And just study that, and just keep writing, keep practicing, and keep learning, and you should be okay.
If you were to win this competition again, what do you think it would mean for your poetry career?
Honestly, it would be affirming, in the sense of like I feel like because I'm not taking myself too seriously, me when it'll be like, oh okay, yeah, cool, vibes, like that's great, you know. But to say that I feel like I'm on a trajectory where I'm aiming to be published, and The competition is great for exercising that muscle and creating visibility for spoken word poetry and helping people fall in love with the art form. Because so many trainees haven't heard a spoken word poem yet, and haven't seen a solid performance. So just the idea of the slam being it'll be live on TV, so that a wider population of people would be able to see and experience that, not firsthand if they're seeing it from home, but still getting to see what Trinbago have to offer, and what the poets have to offer will be good. Hearing the issues that the poets bring. So it's not really about winning for me at all, really. If it happens, it'll be like, okay, great, that's awesome. But I am on a journey of building and creating spaces and kind of just cementing myself as a writer and an author and a change maker in this space.
Danica, is poetry healing for you?
Healing? Yeah, in some ways. Yeah, in some ways it's very healing. Because there are so many things that I want to write about, and not for me per se, but just things that I feel like need to be said, stories that need to be told. And it does feel a little bit lighter to finally get them out the way that I want to. And even better when I could present it to an audience and, even one person kind of just understands and it changes something in them, regardless of how small that thing is. The best thing is when somebody comes up to you and it's like, wait, I never even think about that before. So I guess, yeah, it's healing, but not just for me.
So as we're approaching, we're on the hour now, so you want to begin to wrap up, but I wanted to ask you, what's next for you after the competition? What can we expect?
What's next? Or I guess what's continuing for me, regardless of, regardless of First Citizens National Poetry Slam or not, is publication of our first collection. Beautiful. And every month I actually have a poetry slam. I'm not going to have it this month just because, preparing for FCNPS. But I have a monthly poetry slam. It's called Bars Poetry Slam with my company, Bacano Leaf. And that's ongoing, that's every month, just creating a space for poets to learn and grow. We have workshops and other outreach engagements. So that's a platform that I am dedicated to building and expanding.
All right. So how can people find you? How can people support you, get in touch with you?
Yeah, search me on Instagram, Danica Thomas, poet _, but most importantly, follow Bacano Leaf. Bacano, Bacano Leaf.
Bacano Leaf.
Yeah. Yeah. And just take a look at the stuff that we've done before and that we will be continue doing. The next show will be in April for anybody who feel like they have a voice, they have a poem. This space is a very supportive space, and a space where it doesn't matter if you're very, very experienced or you're new. The community that we have there is very supportive, and we encourage everybody to come and try a hand at the thing. It's not a very it's not like a club, It's not a club that only certain people could be a part of. Everybody could come and do poetry.
No matter your skill level.
No matter your skill level, yes. We have a place for you.
I could come and give a little something, a little touch.
Of course. Come and give you a little small thing, Show you your skills. You was a part of Girl Be Heard. I want to see what you learn, what you could offer.
I will let Ariel down. But I do appreciate the work that you're doing. I thank you so much for your time and for joining me on the program today. I hope you have a beautiful day.
Okay, thank you so much. You too. I appreciate you all for having me on.
Of course, anytime. So now that we've kind of coming down to the ending or so of the show, so what I want to do is just to tell you guys that we're going to take a short break and then we'll be right back with you. This is AM Prime. Stay with us.
Do you need treatment for obesity or any related abdominal procedures? The community hospital now offers minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery done by an American-trained, board-certified surgeon with over 20 years' experience.
Give us a call at 235-5479 for more information.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas, and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
The best for your baby is at thebesttoys.com. From the best strollers, car seats, baby carriers, high chairs, booster seats, rockers, jumpers and bouncers, walkers, baby blankets, feeding accessories, bathtubs. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship McLean. Shop online now at thebesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 332-BABY. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
I want to get a tattoo.
You really
respond to me. Respond to me how you would respond to me.
The first question I'll ask is why?
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So here we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug.
You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we cannot a stalemate.
We'll focus on the woman who's being the victim,
right,
or the man who's being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm not to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the
not no.
Let's go to the last part.
This is 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for. It's called loss and damage, and we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region. Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Now you don't need to register nothing. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe in different criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploited the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
Our award-winning show is back, and this season promises to be even more exciting than before. What's Up, Doc isn't just a title, it's a call to action for anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
Hello and welcome back. Okay, so what I'm taking a look at here is some of the comments that were posted, some of the questions that were posted as while the previous conversations were going on. There was one that asked, do you think there's a gap in political education among voters in Trinidad and Tobago? And if so, what practical steps can be taken to close it? That was posed by Candice. And then there was another question. What are the biggest barriers preventing new and young voters from participating in elections in Trinidad and Tobago? So what we're going to do is we're just going to take these comments and we're going to pass it on to Sean Michael Small, and he'll be the one, he'll talk about it a little bit more, and just to give general discussion on that. And hopefully when we come back in tomorrow, we can have a little bit more of a discussion, have a little follow-up on it. All right, so thanks so much again for your comments, and we hope that you keep it coming, and we'll do our best to facilitate conversation on it. So we're just gonna do something that we always do. We do a little news stories to kind of catch you all up on what's going on, anything that you may have missed. So just gonna jump straight into it. Adam Stewart, he's the executive chairman of the Sandals Resorts in Trinidad and Tobago. He'll be here today to discuss a potential investment into Tobago's tourism. Prime Minister Young has urged Tobagonians to not let this opportunity slip away from them. So check out this video for more.
Minister Stuart Young has announced that Adam Stewart, the chairman of the Sandals Group, has agreed to meet with key stakeholders to discuss potential investments in Tobago.
Mr. Stewart has agreed to come and meet with myself, the Chief Secretary Farley, and other stakeholders in Tobago on Monday, coming Monday the 7th. So people of Tobago in particular, this is a fabulous opportunity. We need to learn from the mistakes of the past and not allow a few misguided naysayers stop the potential development of the economy of Tobago. This is for Tobago.
Reflecting on past negotiations with the Sandals Group, Prime Minister Young expressed optimism about the renewed engagement.
Remember, we had negotiated with Mr. Stewart and his then father, Butch Stewart, for not only our sandals, but also our beaches in Tobago, and a new Greg Norman designed golf course. And unfortunately, we allowed that opportunity to slip away from us.
On March 16th, during his penultimate day, then Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley called out 2 people from Tobago in particular to sit down with Sandals and have discussions.
And you Tobagonians, especially you Fali, and you Watson, I'm inviting both of you from this platform, whenever Adam Stewart comes to Trinidad and Tobago, when he comes here in August, you, and all of you, with the Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, for the people of Tobago, for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, sit down with him.
And now Prime Minister Stuart Young assured that these 2 Tobagonians would be invited to the meeting on Monday.
I spoke to Chief Secretary Farley and invited him to the meeting on Monday. I tried to get Mr. Watson Duke before coming here. I was.
All right, so all we can hope is that a productive and efficient meeting happens with those key stakeholders to ensure the best outcome for Tobago, because that is the most important thing, to ensure that Tobago wins out in all of these conversations and talks that will be happening, the citizens, the people of Tobago. So moving on, Pope Francis, he was released from hospital 2 weeks ago, and he made a brief appearance and a surprise comment at yesterday's Sunday Mass. Do take a look.
Preghiamo. Il Signore sia con voi.
Buona domenica a tutti. Grazie tante.
What a beautiful display of love, affection, and consideration. And look at all those people that were there to see him. That was Pope Francis. What he said was Happy Sunday to all, for those who weren't able to hear or see the subtitles. He said Happy Sunday to all, as it was Sunday's Mass. Beautiful thing to hear him say, because he was suffering in the hospital for about 5 weeks from double pneumonia. But it looks like he's now out and doing better, and we can only pray for his quick recovery. All right. Just moving on. The Barbados minister says students are to be consulted before a new Education Act reaches Parliament. Just take a look at this video, and then we'll come back and talk a bit more about it.
Predicated by a very adult-centric focus on education. Of course, we have our principals, you have our teachers, you have our administrators, you have the ministry. But Barbados, as I said before, when you look at where we need to go and being a world-class country, grounded by having citizens who are confident, who are able to think on their feet, who are critical thinkers, we have to now ensure that our students at the earliest age possible can be part of the governance of education. Why are we doing this? If you are a part of the governance of education early, it leads to you being able to have the ability to go on to engage at the highest level from an early stage. So for example, when I look at my own reality, I started in the youth movement at the age of 18, went on to do different things around the world. But if I had started earlier, imagine the things I've been able to do. And that has to be part of the legacy of Barbados' education system. The other aspect is the world in which the students live in today is changing rapidly. And we have to now prepare them and equip them with the tools necessary to be able to, when you leave school, and even before you leave school, to understand what are the rudiments of the global economy, what are the challenges. So for example, issues of the climate change and the climate crisis. How do we get our students to not just understand it, but to find solutions whilst at school? And to help policymakers like myself, and members of cabinet, members of parliament, members of the Senate, to be able to understand a fresh perspective as young people, but not just to hear them, but also to listen to what the solutions they're offering and see how we can integrate that. Because what you're ultimately doing is preparing them for the world. Barbados has, in my view, a comparative advantage of producing world leaders, whether that be in government, politics, sport, tourism, you name it. And we have to now nurture a new generation of thinkers to be world-class at the earliest stage possible. The other aspect is, and I said it a little earlier, I'll repeat it again, and I'll say it to them, part of the transformation I want to commit to is that I'll be meeting with the students at the student council level every quarter as a standing feature. That's one. And two, whenever there is an education bill going before Parliament, the idea is to commit, and I'm committing now, to ensure that they're also there to be part of it. But in between that as well, part of the discussions and consultations has to be a standing dialogue with these young people. Because why? They're the ones who have to live it even beyond school. So we're trying to build their capacity. One of the things I did when I was at the Commonwealth Secretariat was actually to create what is now called the Commonwealth Students Association, which is a global association of tertiary students. And you get to see the nexus between student governance and leadership and development. And we now have to put Barbados ahead of everybody else. And to be able to rank with our counterparts in Asia and in the Arab world, and to be able to let them know, develop the skill set of leadership. And because you're doing leadership now doesn't mean you're going to politics. It could be, but you can go into leadership in business, leadership in commerce, leadership in manufacturing, but in every aspect that you, or as you said, community. And that is now needed more than ever before. So part of the conversation I'll be having with the students today is to ask them, to get them to reimagine to how can they now be owners of the new Barbados, particularly in the advent of us being a republic. So this is a very exciting time. I understood that it's never been done, but this has to now be the way forward as we engage our students.
All right, that was Barbados' Minister of Educational Transformations, and it's Chad Blackman, speaking last Wednesday. Barbados, in their attempt to affect student-led policymaking, are planning to include students to help rewrite the 1983 Education Act to reflect contemporary challenges as well as opportunities. Young people's ideas and concerns will be central to shaping the new legal framework governing education, and he sought to assure that the youth's involvement in revising the legislation would not be a token exercise, but a meaningful shift towards greater student involvement in education policy, which is sort of what we were talking about this morning when we had Chris on the show, making sure that young people's involvement isn't tokenized, but is appreciated, and it can be substantiated further, even past the elections. So it's always important to look at what other nations, especially those closest to us, are doing to make meaningful change, especially for our youth, and I can speak to that as it is my generation. So I believe that this is something tangible that can be adopted, if not already in the works, by Trinidad and Tobago. All right, moving swiftly along, stocks plummet as world leaders respond to Trump's tariffs.
Markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom.
chose est sûre, avec les décisions de cette nuit, l'économie américaine et les Américains, qu'il s'agisse des entreprises ou des citoyens, sortiront plus faibles qu'hier et plus pauvres.
Defendemos o multilateralismo e o livre comércio e responderemos a qualquer tentativa de impor protecionismo que não cabe mais hoje no mundo.
And I think in much less time than you think, the world will reorder itself, will figure it out, and the United States growth rate will turbocharge compared to the rest of the world.
The international order and the international system, my friends, is in grave danger of collapse. And now we are on the precipice of a global trade war. Our Caribbean economies are largely reliant on imports. Just go to the supermarket or visit the mall or the hardware shop or the electronics store, and you will see that most of the things there are not produced in this region. Many of those commodities are either purchased directly from the United States of America or pass through the United States of America on their way to the Caribbean region. That, my friends, is a legacy of our colonial dependence. Together with colleague heads of state and heads of government, we have been working to diversify ourselves away from this dependence. We've already started to reap some successes, especially in the field of agriculture, for example, but we still have a long way to go. As we do this work, we have to be mindful that those recent announcements that have been made in the last few days will impact us very directly as a region and as a Caribbean people. We are working and will continue to work to become more self-sufficient. But I want every Caribbean man and every Caribbean woman to hear me. This trade war and the possibility of a $1 million to $1.5 million US levy on all Chinese-made ships entering US harbors will mean higher prices for all of us at the corner shop, higher prices at the supermarket, higher prices at the electronics store, higher prices for us at the shop, higher prices for us at the restaurant, higher prices for us at the car dealership and beyond. A lot of Caribbean people will think that these things that you are seeing on television news or reading about are far away and they don't impact on me. A lot of people think I'm just a farmer, or I'm just a school teacher, or I'm just a mechanic. They say, I live in St. Lucie in Barbados, or I live in Portmore in Jamaica, or Kingstown in St. Vincent, or Rima in Trinidad, or Basse-Terre in St. Kitts, or San Ignacio in Belize. These problems are far away from me and they don't impact me. That is what you will hear them say. But the reality, my friends, is that if you buy food, if you buy electronics, if you buy clothes, it will impact you. It will impact each of us. My brothers and sisters, our Caribbean economies are not very large. So we are and have always been at the whims of global prices. If Europe and China and the US and Canada and Mexico are all putting tariffs on each other, that is going to disrupt supply chains. That is going to raise the cost of producing everything from the food you eat to the clothes on your back, to the phone in your pocket, to the car you drive down the road, to the spare parts that you need for critical infrastructure. That means higher prices for all of us to pay. And sadly, yes, this will impact all of you, regardless of what any of our Caribbean governments will do. We could lower our tariffs to zero in CARICOM, and it will not make a lick of difference because our economies are small and vulnerable. This crisis, my friends, will impact not only goods, but it may also have a large spillover effect on tourism. We suggest that the region take steps to sustain the tourism industry, as likely worsening conditions in many of our source markets will have negative impacts on people's ability to travel. We call on our regional private sector and the tourism sector to come together and to work with governments to collaborate for an immediate tourism strategy to ensure that we maintain market share numbers as a region. My friends, I pray that I am wrong, and I'm praying that cooler heads prevail across the world and leaders come together in a new sense of cooperation to look after the poor and the vulnerable people of this world, and to leave space for the middle classes to chart their lives, to allow businesses to be able to get on with what they do and to trade. But truly, I do not have confidence that this will happen. So what must we do? First, we must re-engage urgently, directly, and at the highest possible level with our friends in the United States of America. There is an obvious truth which has to be confronted by both sides. That truth is that these small and micro states of the Caribbean do not in any way or in any sector enjoy a greater degree of financial benefit in the balance of trade than does the United States. In fact, it is because of our small size, our great vulnerability, our limited manufacturing capacity, our inability to distort trade in any way, that successive United States administrations, including and most recently the Reagan administration in the early 1980s, went to great lengths to assist us in promoting our abilities to sell in the United States under the Caribbean Basin Initiative. We will see how these tariffs will impact on that. That spirit of cooperation largely enabled security, social stability, and economic growth on America's third border in the Caribbean, or as we have agreed as recently in our meeting with Secretary of State Rubio, what is now our collective neighborhood. Secondly, we must not fight among each other for political gain, because, my dear brothers and sisters, as the old adage goes, united we stand and divided we fall. Thirdly, we must redouble our efforts to invest in Caribbean agricultural production and light manufacturing. The 25 by 2025 initiative, ably led by President Ali, seems too modest a target now, given all that we are confronting. We must grow our own and produce our own as much as possible. We can all make the decision to buy healthy foods at the market instead of processed foods at the supermarket. Fourthly, we must build our ties with Africa, Central and Latin America, and renew those ties with some of our older partners around the world, in the United Kingdom and Europe, in Canada. We must not rely solely on one or two markets. We need to be able to sell our Caribbean goods to a wider, more stable global market. My brothers and sisters, in every global political and economic crisis, there is always an opportunity.
So as you saw, stocks have taken a major hit as global markets react to the latest move from U.S. President Donald Trump. New tariffs are causing anything but peace across the world economy. So with these tariff tensions rising, as you just saw, world leaders are speaking out. And their responses, while they attempt to be reassuring, our reality is decadently obvious. From Europe to Asia to the Caribbean and Latin America, countries are bracing for the fallout. And investors and economists alike are scrambling to assess the damage. In the videos you just saw, we just see how obvious this is. And it's not just the world leaders that are standing up, but citizens, people just like you and I are standing up in protest. Watch this video for more.
Well, I've marched before when he first got elected a number of years ago, and I still can't believe that he got elected again. And I can't believe that he's tanking the economy and he's tanking the government, and it's all being done for him and for Elon Musk and all the billionaires and everybody else. It's not for me, it's not for the people who live in my neighborhood, it's for all of these billionaires.
Here to join my voice to everybody else's who's calling for the Trump administration to stop undermining our democracy. I mean, he's basically taken the rule of law, thrown it out the window. One executive order after another comes before the courts and it gets shut down. And because he's got almost full immunity, he can get away with breaking the law. And he's got all our taxpayer dollars to defend his illegal actions with.
No human is illegal. No human is illegal.
I don't even think there's much more to comment on past that. You heard what people have to say. A lot of people are standing up in terms of protecting themselves and their neighborhoods, their communities. So I'm glad to see people are coming together for a common goal. Wherever you lie on the political sphere, it's good to see people coming together for a goal that they all believe in. So to end off our show today, I want to highlight U.S. Senator Cory Booker. He delivered a record-breaking speech totaling about 25 hours of non-stop discourse. More in this last video. Take a look.
These are not normal times in America. And they should not be treated as such. I can't allow this body to continue without doing something different, speaking out. The threats to American people and American democracy are grave and urgent, and we all must do more. We all must do more, because I believe generations from now will look back at this moment and have a single question. Where were you when our country was in crisis and when American people were asking for help? Help me. We have a president who's come in, and one of the first things he's done in 71 days is insinuate fear and insecurity about Social Security by threatening it. This president is invoking emergency powers like the Alien Insurrection Act. What the president has done is left our allies feeling abandoned, feeling degraded and insulted. He's left our adversaries feeling emboldened. What does his Liberation Day mean to the people that are shackled to debt? What does his liberation mean to people who are literally in jails right now because they were disappeared from our streets? What does his liberation mean to people who can't afford homes because of his tariffs, who dreamed of a new car, but that's going to go up as well? What about the people that are banned from the press corps because they won't call it the Gulf of America? What does his liberty mean to Canada, who fought next to us?
Would the senator yield for a question?
Chuck Schumer, it's the only time in my life I can tell you no.
I just want to tell you a question. Do you know you have just broken the record? Do you know how proud this caucus is of you? Do you know how proud America is of you?
It's not a left-right crisis, it's a right-wrong crisis. It's a moral moment, and again, in America that's going to define our character, about who we are and what we stand for. I don't know how to solve this. I don't know how to stop us from going down this road, but I know who does have the power: the people of the United States of America. The power of the people is greater than the people in power. It is time to heed the words of the man I began this whole thing with, John Lewis. He said for us to go out and cause some good trouble, necessary trouble. Let's get in good trouble. My friend, Madam President, I yield the floor.
Wow, what a feat. What a feat it was. You see what happens when people are pushed or forced or even just inspired to create change. What can be done? What can be done when you are passionate about the issues that are coming your way, that are affecting not only you, but again, your community. It's amazing to see people so empowered. So congratulations to U.S. Senator Cory Booker for his accomplishment. Well, folks, that ends off our show today. As usual, I'd like to leave you with a little bit of a quote to start your day off. So this one is by Cornel West. It says, "Never forget that justice is what love looks like in public." Again, never forget that justice is what love looks like in public. Stand up in whatever way you can today to support justice and righteousness, right? The difference between right and wrong today, all right? Don't let those things slip you by. As always, remember that you can find us on our YouTube or our Facebook, where you can leave your comments and suggestions for us to engage with you. Head to WESNCC to engage with us now, and your comments can be featured on an episode of AM Prime. Stay tuned. Sean Michael Small of Talking Point will be on soon. I am Jada McLeod. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
WESN.
Do you need treatment for obesity or any related abdominal procedures? The community hospital now offers minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery done by an American-trained, board-certified surgeon with over 20 years' experience. Give us a call at 235-5479 for more information.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards.